Namaste. This lesson is about yoga and what it actually is. Here in the West, yoga became popular as a gymnastic exercise, as some workout, but yoga is much, much more than that. Yes, there's a physical component of it, but that's just one small part of a huge science. So we talked already a little about Ayurveda. Maybe you've watched that video already. Otherwise, go ahead and watch that as well. Yoga is, so to say, a sister science of Ayurveda. It came up in the Vedic culture, which is very ancient. Scientists have a little difficulty stating it because it was an oral culture. That means all the wisdom, all the knowledge was passed orally from one person to the next, and only in the very end of the culture, actually, they started writing it down as well in the Vedas. The oldest Veda, the oldest book of the Vedic culture, is the Rig Veda, and scientists believe that is 5,000 years old. So we know that culture was that old at least, but they say it must have been going on for another 2,000 years, so at least 7,000 years ago. Quite a long time ago. So from this culture we also got yoga. And yoga is not gymnastics. Yoga is a complete science for spiritual growth. When we come here to the earth, now we get a little into the philosophical realm. When we come to the earth, when our soul incarnates on the earth, it is, so to say, a downfall of energy. And our whole life we're working towards coming back to the source. The source in yoga we call source or supreme soul, or you can call it God, Allah, Brahma. There are many names for this oversoul, this big ocean of souls where we will go back when we die, once we have completed our rebirth cycle. But that's another topic. But the big goal is to raise our energy again, to go back home. And yoga is the science, is like a guideline or a map which helps us on this path. So for everyone in the world, this journey is the same. We come into the world, we experience life, and we always feel the thrive of growing, of expanding. This is the raise of energy. And it anyways happens, no matter if you do yoga, if you do drugs, if you do anything, it happens just because life is happening to you. Life gives us lessons, and either we learn from the lessons, then our energy rises a little bit. If we don't learn from the lesson, the life will present the same lesson to you again, just with a different face. So maybe you see that already, that in your past with relationships, this is happening very often, that you attract the same person again and again, just with a different hair color, different nose, but the topics in the relationship is always the same. So then you know, okay, this is a lesson for me to learn. There's something to learn from me in this relationship. And once you learn your lesson, you will not attract those kind of partners anymore. So then you raise your energy. So you see, energy raising anyways happens, no matter if you do yoga or not. But with the help of yoga, we can do this whole process a little more focused and faster and easier. So yoga gives us the tools to raise our energy in a very systematic pattern, in a very systematic way. And there are also different approaches to yoga. There are different kinds of yoga. Today I will only talk about one. It's called Raj Yoga, the royal path of yoga, where Hatha Yoga is one fraction of it. Hatha Yoga is the physical yoga, the yoga we know in the West a little. But also it has more steps or more parts than just the physical part. The physical part we call asanas. These are the body postures. This is what we practice in a regular yoga practice, in a regular yoga class, sorry. But there are more things. For example, we have, before even coming to asanas, we have yamas and niyamas. These are the basic moral rules, and we will get into that as well. This is, so to say, the spiritual foundation for anything. So you have to set your moral codes right. You have to live according to your moral codes so you can start with your spiritual journey. As long as you still lie to others, lie to yourself, you're not true to yourself, you still steal from people, you cannot get anywhere in your spiritual journey. So in Hatha Yoga and in Raja Yoga also, we have this baseline of moral codes. And once this is accomplished, we start with asanas. So obviously you can start with asanas before already, but you will only get really deep into the practice once you're fully established in your moral codes. So we have the moral codes, then we have the bodily postures, then we have pranayama. Pranayama are the breathing techniques. Now, pranayama often is translated as prana is the life force, and yama is the control, so the control over the life force. But I want to introduce an alternate translation, which I got from my Indian yoga teacher, and this is prana. Prana is the life force, and ayama is the expansion. So it is not just the control over our breathing, it is the expansion of our life force. Pranayama is a very, very powerful technique. We have certain kinds of pranayama, different kinds of pranayama, energizing, cooling, balancing pranayamas. But in general, when we practice pranayama, we work with our energies and we expand our life force. So this is a very intense practice already. Then we also have mudras and bandhas. Mudras are gestures. Most likely you've seen people sitting like this in meditation. So this would be a mudra, but mudra is not just what we do with our hands. We can hold mudras with our whole body. So for example, there are certain mudras what we do with our tongue during meditation. So classically, we would Kechari mudra, they call it. We would put your tongue onto your soft palate. There are also mudras for the eyes. For example, Shambhavi mudra. In Shambhavi mudra, we gaze at the eyebrow center. So mudras are not just with the hands, just you've heard of this. And then we also have bandhas. Bandhas are energy locks. This is a very high practice already. And sadly, I see a lot of Western yoga teachers practicing this even in beginner classes. This is not meant to be in beginner classes at all. With bandhas, with energetical locks, we work very intensely with our energies and we can do a lot of harm. So you see, yoga is not just about being soft, being gentle. It is a very powerful technique, and if you practice it wrong, you can harm yourself. And now, unfortunately, we see this a lot, that people not just harm them physically. This is happening because the teacher, they don't align very good, they don't show very good. So this is totally on the teacher. This should not happen at all in the yoga class. So physical harm is there, but also energetical harm. And then I don't have the right words for it, but I always tell my students that when you play with your energies, when you shoot your energies through your energy system, and your energy system, your body is not ready for it, you get a little little nuts up there. And this we see very, very much in the spiritual community all over the world, that there are just some people and you meet them and you think, this person is crazy. And they're truly crazy because they just did some practices to raise their energy and the body was not ready for it, and then they're a total mess. So yoga is it can be gentle, but it is a very strong and transformative science. So you should always practice with an experienced teacher, because there is harm to be done. You can get harmed with yoga. But with a safe teacher, with a teacher where you feel safe, where you feel protected, you will be fine, as long as it's an experienced teacher. Yeah, back to yoga. So you see already there are more parts than just the physical. It goes then further with concentration techniques, also with pratyahara. Pratyahara is the withdrawal of senses. That means I don't surround myself with things which are not good for me anymore. I don't watch horror movies anymore. I don't hang out with people which are not good for me. And even if I'm surrounded by things like this, I withdraw my senses. I don't allow these things to affect me. And then concentration. Concentration is the step before meditation. So true meditation is to calm your mind. But before we can calm our mind, before we can control our mind, we have to learn how to focus our mind on one thing. You can think of yourself in a regular day of how many things you think. Or you maybe do one thing and you think 100 other things in the meantime. So it is already very difficult for a normal person to just focus on one thing. So before you try to control your mind, you always try to focus on one thing. And then you come to the next stage, and that would be meditation. And after meditation, we have samadhi. Samadhi, there is no proper translation in English. The closest what we get is enlightenment or liberation. So this is the highest step. And even samadhi is not just one big thing, I reach enlightenment. Even that is in different steps, categorized in different steps. So it's not like you reach samadhi and you're done. No, then also you can go deeper and deeper into the samadhi, different kinds of samadhis. So this is what yoga is all about. I know this is a very short talk about a huge topic, but the purpose of this lesson is actually just to give you a glimpse of what all is there, that it's not just some bodily exercise which you do once a week and you stretch your body a little and you don't get sick because of it anymore. No, it is much, much more, and it holds big potential for you. So thank you very much, and see you in the next lesson.